Ecosystem services are the benefits people gain from ecosystems for their health and well-being. It appeals to the need to sustain the complex of human and non-human environments in the combined effort. When land degradation through coal or gold mining happens, these services are highly challenged. It combines the destruction of soil and ecosystems for supporting and regulating services, but also provision of food through dislocating farmers. This leads to diminishing the sense of place, affecting the cultural services of a place. Aesthetics of the previous landscape completely changed. Nothing is like it was. Now, can this issue be solved? Why is this destruction constantly happening, and what are the global consequences? In this video, we look at mining cases from Indonesia and Germany, emphasizing the role of women in environmental justice movements. Two key aspects make the setting for this explorative analysis. First, path dependency of the coal mining industries limit the possibilities to change and decarbonize. This is due to vested interests between the producers of fossil fuel resources and the citizens as consumers and users of ecosystem services. Second, unequal reinforcing power structures between global north and global south foster extractionism, leading to dispersed environmental effects. While Germany, as a wealthy country, requires products with rare resources, Indonesia is the country where these are intrusively extracted. Land and its resources are much more than just a place to live for the hinterland communities. They are the major source of livelihood for the poorest households, and caring for them is often the responsibility of women. Women are generally the ones who bear the brunt of land degradation. Recent research shows that agreements between mining firms and the local population routinely exclude women. A lack of power and political influence makes it impossible for women to have any say in how the mine affects them, and it is often men who receive compensation because of notions about land ownership and who is the family head. Land is nearly always controlled by men, and economic recompense to men merely makes women non-productive citizens. Loss or changes to traditional culture, which places high importance on women's productive work and their role as decision makers and landowners, often put women as a victim. However, in the midst of extractive industries around the world exploiting natural resources, women have played a variety of roles in preserving their living space. They are at the forefront of the fight against environmental exploitation, despite being frequently intimidated, harassed and threatened with detention and criminalization. The fact that more women are visible in these movements can be connected to the greater inclusivity of non-violent environmental movements in general. They make protests less violent by emphasizing their maternal role or fostering diverse types of protesting beyond street demonstrations, based on their knowledge about social power. Through this ecological citizenship, women take responsibility to create desirable futures based on a shared idea of doing the right thing, institutionally and in everyday life. It relates directly to the exposure of environmental breakdown as residents of mining areas face. In her article, Gard points out that women and children are 14 times more likely to die in ecological disasters than men, for example due to their unpaid care work, lack of life-saving skills, or vulnerability to sexual assaults. In global discourses about future energy supply and resource management, it is necessary to allow for different forms of knowledge and engagement across the world. But how to engage? Or how to support engagement? To answer those questions, we talked with environmental activists from Indonesia and Germany. These women make change happen in their own way, and we are delighted to hear more about their views and experiences.
my general experience. It's hard to put it all in one word. I would say it's an emotional roller coaster to participate in activism. That's also the time when I feel most alive, and I guess that's why I'm doing it.
So I do offline protests as well. So we're currently organizing as part of the Global Climate Strike from Fridays for Future Global as well. So yes, I do both.
In the Hambacher Forest, we protested against coal mine, which was supposed to be widened, and therefore the forest had to be cut down. So it was not actually only about the forest, it was against the coal mine. And people were building tree houses in the forest and were living there. And then the police had to come to evict them because according to German law, you have a right to live and you have a right to be not be hurt.
For the climate justice movement, from my experience, it seems that the people who are more likely to understand the climate issues are those less likely to be on the streets in Indonesia, because of the stigma of demonstrating is usually violent, demonstrating is usually for laborers and whatnot. So that's the issue here. And then plus the pandemic, these people are all more careful even, like worried about the virus and whatnot. So the pandemic really hit the momentum in terms of having people in the streets for climate justice in Indonesia.
I think that I often try to weaponize that I give the impression that I'm like cute and innocent, and then I'm not. You know, I know, for example, that I can get louder and say more mean things to policemen without facing repercussions compared to my male colleagues or co-activists.
And you can still see it in Indonesia, actually, that most of the protests are very much male-dominated. But in terms of the climate movement, I do see a lot of females being more forefront in a lot of the different protests. And we see this in a lot of the local issues as well. So for the conflict areas, when they organize each other to say no to mining and whatnot, what we see is actually the women are the one who are doing it. They're the one who rally up the people and stay. Generally speaking, a lot of the men would just kind of run away or do some other things, and then the female would stay because it is their livelihood. They don't want to run away.
No movement can move without the necessary support, which nowadays has a digital component as well. Around 80% of the women worldwide own a mobile phone, in Southeast Asia even 93%. Since the Arabic Spring starting in 2010, social media is widely recognized as a powerful tool in political protests. But which role does it play for women in environmental movements?
It's very important. I mean, we are one of the highest social media users of the world, I think, for Indonesia in particular. And it is basically our main source of media these days. It's our main source of news. Who reads the news? They probably get it from social media, right? I mean, yeah.
Yeah, for today, it's important because somehow like Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, but mostly for the campaign, Twitter and Instagram is very helpful. Somehow, why you can here also the indicator why the government is very afraid of
social media movement.
Social media is because they ban many kind of the account of our activists, actually official like WADAS and also the others account have banned by the government. So that's indicator how effective the social media to spread the information very fast, actually.
Media, I think media in general is really important. Media is the only thing which is protecting the protests from experiencing violence. So whenever a camera is around, you're kind of safe. And when it's not, maybe maybe there's some kind of violence happening from each side.
But the key is the homework that we have is how do we translate the social media onto real offline actions? Because a lot of the times people are like, oh, I'm just comfortable posting. And then that's it. They don't do anything else. And that's the danger.
Although the realities and political settings of our interviewees might be very different, they share the vision for a system change towards a more environmentally just future. Today is the global climate strike, and you will most likely find all of them in the streets demonstrating and hoping for a better world. But what do they hope for?
My hope? System change. I'm actually very hopeful. I'm very, very hopeful. I think in the next few years, we will see that people, different movements of Indonesia, not just environmental movements, and environmental movements, are going to grow, and we are going to be able to consolidate power through having a citizens' assembly or through a alternative political movement.
My hope is that peaceful protests matters, and that is, I want to underline peaceful at that place.
I hope in the future all the men and the women have a good position, actually the same position. And for the government, we know we have like many kind of the result. We can show all the case that the mining is not good for the people, for the earth, but they still do it. So actually the IPs and local communities have their own local knowledge to manage their environment. So why you not recognize it and just work collaboration with them? So it's just like peaceful world, actually. That's our hope for the life, for my daughter, also for the future.
This is my voice, my weapon of choice.